Hello everyone and welcome to my home. Hopefully the backdrop for many more videos to come now that we're in this exciting new chapter. So I hope you are having the most amazing Monday to Sunday, wherever you are, whatever time it is. For me, it is Monday evening. And it's a very exciting Monday evening because today marks the beginning of the 2-week chaos that always leads up to Horsemanship Showcase. It's such an exciting feeling, that build up that, we've got 14 days until it's kind of all done. And there's so much to do. I've been in the office today with the Showcase team and I am absolutely buzzing because I have managed to leave with a copy of the official program with all of the arenas, all the spectators, trainers, everybody. And I kind of wanted to indulge myself a little bit this evening because being part of the Showcase team is so amazing. And it's really such a privilege to be able to get to meet the amazing people I do and work with the amazing people I do. But it does mean that because I'm at work, making sure that the show goes on for all of you guys, I don't always get to see everybody that I would like to. Now, this year, there are actually 4 arenas. In the past, there's only been 3. We usually have Arena 1, the main arena. Then there's Arena 2, which is kind of more like the in-depth education arena. And then there's usually the talk tent as well in with the exhibitors. Now, Arena 1's still there. That's now the international arena. Arena 2 is now the education arena. We are still hosting the talk tent in the exhibitor arena with all the trade stands and the retail stands and all the shopping. And then we've added this year, because we've had such a massive uptake in people wanting to give talks and give interactive sessions, that we now have the interactive zone in our new 4th arena, which is super exciting. Of course, it does mean that there's even more people to see and even more scheduling to work out. And yeah, it's been really crazy getting everyone together, making sure everyone's in the right places at the right times. But we finally have it all in front of us, and I kind of just wanted to go through and really see where I would be if I were you and I had all the time and my ticket had gifted me 2 days to run amok as I like in Showcase and see whoever I wanted all day. Who would I see and where would I go? So I think there's going to be quite a few honourable mentions. A few little scheduled clashes where I wished I could be in 2 places at once, because that's always the way it is when you have an amazing lineup. But let's get into it and start on Saturday. Now, it looks to me like everything kind of kicks off at 9:30 each day. So I think on Saturday, my first seat is gonna be in the education arena for Rebecca Harris for Yoga for Your Horse, creating alignment, balance, and core strength. So Rebecca is actually someone I've known for quite a long time, which is very cool. She's a very cool human. She has some very cool horses, and her business is Balance Horsemanship. And I think the thing that's always really impressed me and inspired me about Rebecca, I have seen her at Showcase a few years before, is she has this kind of softness in her connection, and her horses have this kind of softness with her where you can really feel there's like a mutual understanding and like this sort of like elastic band that sort of holds them together, and like as it stretches they kind of move together. Like it's very synchronized, it's very balanced. And I think yoga for your horse is definitely a phrase that resonates with me, particularly for my journey with Lawrence. I've talked before a little bit about wanting to look into doing some kind of yoga type exercises with him to really get him thinking about how to use his body and thinking about like stretching and holding himself and engaging some muscles. And I think it's going to be a really good kickoff for me for this event to go and kind of spend some time watching Rebecca and seeing how she's doing yoga with her horses, because I am pretty sure that if you put her horses in a yoga class, they would be acing it. So that's definitely where I would start. So Rebecca Harris, where are we going from there? Let's have a little look. Oh, so exciting just to like have it all here in front of me, and I know where I'm going next. I am gonna be at Equi-Reflect with Alex Strobel. Now, Alex is definitely someone that I hadn't heard of before. So Alex, I believe Alex is a mindset coach and an NLP practitioner who helps women within the equestrian industry banish negative self-talk, build their confidence, and strengthen their mindset to enable them to reach their full potential. So her session is an introduction and explanation on how horses help healing processes after trauma. Now, I would be very interested and curious to see how someone who has completed an NLP practitioner's course, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and it's kind of, broadly speaking, all around the language that you're using and the inflections and the inferences that you're choosing to stress different syllables or words within the way you talk, and how that impacts the people around you and learning. So I'm going to be really curious to see what a mindset coach has to offer and to say about horses and the healing process. I think we're seeing, certainly I'm seeing in the last 5 years, maybe 10 years, kind of a boom in the equine assisted therapy industry. And I think it's a really interesting, fascinating industry. I think it does so much for the horses and so much for the people. And I really think that we have got Think Like a Pony at Horsemanship Showcase again. They are an amazing group who've been here a few times. I've watched some amazing sessions with them, and they do quite a lot of work with children. And I think it's a really interesting part of the industry. I think the industry, like in equestrianism generally, is really moving towards people being conscious in the relationship that they have with the horse. And I think a lot of this conversation around how horses can help us with trauma and how horses have a use kind of like outside of sport in terms of like a deep psychological or emotional connection is a key piece in kind of unraveling the historic association with horses being a commodity or being like cars or like something that you buy and trade for a purpose. And actually instead it's about learning how to interact with a particular personality that you might find in a horse, and how that trip might, trigger certain things in your personality. And yeah, so that is definitely a session that I would be interested in. So where have we been? We've been to Rebecca. We have been to Alex Strobel. Who are we going to next? I have to say, Ben Atkinson is on at the same time as Alex, so he definitely deserves an honourable mention. He is going to be doing his first session on Liberty Circles, and he's got some really great titles, I've got to say, this year. He always comes with the titles. He always brings the subjects, Ben. He's got his finger on the pulse of what people want to talk about, and I think this year he's kind of outdone himself. I personally have got a few of his later presentations on my list, and so I think I would go for Alex Strobel and on this one and say, that's okay, I'll catch Ben later. But if you are currently working on Liberty Circles, 100% go and see Ben. Would recommend. He always gives really interesting sessions. So where are we going? So we've been to Alex. Pirelli are doing knots in the interactive zone. I don't think I would go to that one because I have had some experience with my Not Savvy, But definitely halters, bar knots, safety tying tips and more. I would 100% say that if that's something that you think you've fallen down on, or if you struggle tying rope halters, or if you have any questions about using longer ropes, tying horses safely, like some of the theory around how and when and why we tie horses the way we do, Pirelli, definitely, the UK Pirelli instructors are a pretty experienced bunch with that stuff. And so I would definitely recommend going there. I think I'm going to say that you will find me at Sabre Holistics for that time slot. Sabre Holistics, what have we got going on? How to heal your horse in a holistic way. Learn different techniques to help your horse in mind, body, and spirit. Now, Sabre Holistics, if I recall, is, I think, yeah, they do body work. Yeah. Definitely interesting. Sabre Holistics, Reiki, crystals, essential oil, Masterson. Masterson is definitely interesting. And I would definitely be curious. I would definitely be curious on healing your horses in a holistic way. That's going to be, I think, a really interesting session. I really want to join the vibe. I really want to join the energy. I think bodywork is something that can be so individual to the different practitioners. And I think I am really keen to get to see some like live, because I think it's such a different experience when it's your own horse. Like I've had body workers come to work on Lawrence before, and I've also witnessed them working with some of Larissa's horses, and it's such an individual thing for different workers and different people. And I think also when it's a horse that you know, then you're very involved kind of in the therapy in the moment, and you're thinking about the horse and you're thinking about yourself, and like it's quite a personal experience. Whereas actually getting to watch that in like a public environment, I think is going to be a really interesting opportunity to kind of get an outside perspective. So I would be definitely very keen to go to that. But yeah, as I say, if you got some knots to know, go know your knots. So yeah, cool. So I've got my knots. I've watched some body work. I am feeling like I want to take a walk and see what is on. Now Bema is on in the interactive zone. I will say Bema's worth watching. If you've not seen it before, it's kind of like magnetic therapy. Like, you know, some people have those like magnetic wristbands. It's like that, but like times 40. Like it's like a whole system for that. Felicity is there, I'm sure, for Bema, and then also Rebecca Harris is, I think, a Bema ambassador. She's definitely very involved with them and has been historically. If you are interested in that kind of therapy, I definitely would say go along. Like, I fully was sold on the theory of Bema. I have been lucky enough to kind of like never need it for my horses, but I definitely would recommend that if that's something you haven't seen before. Lucy Chester's on Solving Separation Anxiety. That's going to be an interesting session. I'm pretty sure she's a positive reinforcement trainer. And positive reinforcement is something that I haven't really stepped into that much because it's not something that's ever kind of really resonated with me. But I think separation anxiety is something that is a very unnatural problem that we've kind of created, because in the wild, horses don't really leave their herds for anything. So I would be interested and curious to see someone use really good feel and timing with positive reinforcement and how they think that might work. It's on in the talk tent, so it's going to be a theory-based session. So I'm interested, but I think I'm going to take this opportunity to go and see Freddie and Holly in the international arena for introducing and advancing horses and working equitation. That's going to be a very cool session for sure. Freddie and Holly have been with us a few years now. They have the best vibes. Oh my God. So, I mean, I'm really lucky. I have an amazing relationship with my fiance. He's the best. And when I watch Freddie and Holly working together, and like if you would see them like behind the scenes backstage or, you know, like warming up, they just have the coolest vibe. And working equitation is a pretty cool discipline anyway. I think it's one of those disciplines that just like oozes class, and like it's kind of like dressage, but it's funky, and it's also kind of like show jumping, but it's like for me, it's like, I think for me when I was a kid, I think if I'd have found working equitation as a child, I think I would have been super into it. I never really found a competition sport that appealed to me, but I think if I would have found working equitation, I might have been super into that. So I really enjoy it just because I am passionate about the discipline. Holly is an incredible working equitation rider and has a lot of knowledge, and I would be very curious to see what they bring. I think that's going to be a really fun session, really light. I think, you know, we've covered quite a lot in the morning. Like we've gone and we've talked about yoga. We've like, you know, had some deep introspection on, you know, on horses and trauma. You know, we've potentially been to have a look at like some body work. It's been like huge intense morning, and then I think Freddie and Holly is just going to be like a great break. Like let's go and see someone like practice some cool stuff, and like let's go on and ride. And I think that's going to be a very cool session. So I definitely would recommend, if you're gonna go and see something with Freddie and Holly, that's where I would be. International Arena on Saturday for introducing and advancing horses and working equitation. That sounds like a good session. So what are we looking at now? We're kind of coming up to lunchtime. I don't really leave any space for lunch in these schedules, I'm not gonna lie, because there's so much to see. I think, you know, there's some great food at Berry Farm, and I kind of, every year I say to myself, I'll eat lunch at this time, and it never happens. Sorry guys, ran out of phone storage. What a first world problem. Anyway, I'm going to indulge myself because I am actually not going to get to have this schedule, and I'm just going to say that I'm going to have a lunch on the fly, and we're going to crack on through the schedule and try to find whatever's going on next. So we've had a little break, we've sat, we've watched Holly and Freddie, we've laughed, we've cried, we've had every emotion, it's been amazing. And where are we going from here? I think, let's have a little look. So Clive Johnson is on for Spook Busting, Expect the Unexpected. Now, from what I know about Clive, he's a Western trainer, and he's trained with some pretty cool people, including like Buck Brannaman, people like that. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a cool session. However, I am personally more drawn to the talk tent for Becky Thompson at 12:15, which is Procrastination Station, Goals versus Your Sabotaging Self. Now, my horses aren't particularly struggling with spooking at the moment. I think if they were, that's definitely a session that I would catch with Clive. But I think with Becky, Procrastination Station, that's something that really resonates with me. Finding ways to meet your goals without like, within compromise with your feelings and like negative ideas, you know, negative self-talk, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Becky Thompson, 12:15, Procrastination Station. I wonder what her history is. Becky Thompson. I wonder if she's on. There's so many trainers this year. It's like the wildest. It's so good though. It's so nice to have so many. Becky Thompson. Yeah, energy and mindset coach. So her skill is in identifying people's patterns, beliefs, physical ailments, emotions, and energy that make up the whole self. Also a certified neurolinguistic programming master practitioner, energy leadership master practitioner, core dynamics specialist, timeline therapy master practitioner, silent counselor, meridian energy release, and a fully certified professional coach. Oh, there's a little bit extra here on her talk. Do you notice yourself finding reasons not to ride? Do you run out of time doing poo picking, mucking out, or any other avoidance strategies? Do you dislike setting goals because you think they're too rigid or you worry about failing? Do you set some goals but then give up on them halfway through or never even start? In this talk, we explore some myths around goals. You will leave with strategies for identifying what influences your energy and motivation for achieving the results you want. I'm sold. That sounds like a talk I wanna listen to. I'm ready. Teach me about procrastination. So that is definitely where I'm going to be for sure. And I think I'm going to stay in the talk tent for... Well, yes. I think I am going to stay in the talk tent. So, Rhythm and Harmony are on for an introduction to Ayurvedic therapy. Now, Ayurvedic therapy is something that I've always kind of been interested in. I've been curious about it. It's something that's kind of existed on the fringes of my life. Friends have been interested in Ayurvedic therapy. There's another session on at the same time. Ollie Phillips is on in the education arena at the same time. However, my schedule manages to fit him in on Sunday. So I think if you are into Ayurvedic therapy, or you want to be into Ayurvedic therapy, or you want to know more about it like me, that's definitely the place that I'm going to go. But if you're not really that super into it, I 100% would recommend Ollie Phillips. He did such a great session last year. I really enjoyed his session in the education arena last year. And yeah, I fully was committed to seeing another session of his this year. And I think I would have made it work if I hadn't been able to make him work on Sunday. But I'm super delighted to be able to go and find out about Ayurvedic therapy. I am sure that there's also going to be a stand in the exhibitor hall for Rhythm and Harmony. So yeah, definitely going to use that as an introduction and go and get some more details on that. So done our Ayurvedic therapy. What are we looking at? Oh, yes. Now we have got the session I think Ben is doing that Ben Atkinson is doing that I am the most excited about, which is in Arena 2, the education arena, on Saturday, intermediate level liberty exercises and their consequences. I think that's a great title. I think that is so on the mark of the kinds of challenges that I think a lot of people experience with their horses now, because I think so many of us for so long have been kind of in the training journey, both for ourselves and our horses with liberty work. And I think so many people have, myself included, have ended up training things that we didn't intend to train. And I have a feeling that this session is going to touch on some of those things and talk about potentially how that happens. And I think it's going to give some techniques on where to go from there. So that for me is a really key session. I am totally into that. I'm really excited that he's bringing that talk and that session, and I can't wait to see what he brings for that. Hopefully you'll see me there. That's definitely one of my key, please, could I have a job that puts me in the education arena for that talk? We'll see if I make it or not. Yeah, you guys will have to let me know what I missed if I miss it. So we've been for Ben. We've learned about all of our liberty mistakes and how to fix them. Now, this kind of like 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock kind of time, I'm sort of being deliberately vague about timings throughout the day because, as we all know, timings change. People change things, horses change, people get lame, horses get lame, all this stuff happens. But this particular hour on a Saturday afternoon is just like chock full of people I want to see. And I really had trouble working out where I was going to go. And I made the decision in the end because I knew that I could see my other two later on in the showcase. So my afternoon scheduled appointment is talk tent, angle-foot equestrian, behavioral connection to pain, how correct bodywork can overcome common problems with horses. I really feel like, for me, the thing about Showcase that excites me the most is like the pioneering stuff, the really deep stuff where the show gives a platform to such a variety of ideas, and it's like this horse health with the training, with the mindset, with the like human health and everything all together. And so I kind of, knowing that the other people that I would want to see are Tracy Duncan and Sean Coleman, both of whom I've known for quite a long time. They bring amazing stuff, and I know that I'm going to be able to catch them throughout the event. I kind of want to like tear myself away from stuff that I know I'm going to enjoy and stuff that I know is going to be great, to take the opportunity to find out about something that I don't really know that much about. And for me, when I see some of these titles, I'm like, wow, I knew nothing about that. I want to go and learn about it. And that for me is like, that's always my Showcase journey. And like some people, everyone comes to the event for different reasons. But for me, it's really like I'm full into like the deep education mode. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what are you an inspirator? You into your inspiration? You into your education? Or you into your shopping? And all those three are okay. What do you come to Showcase for? Let me know in the comments. For me, I'm fully into the education. I want like that deep, like, get me sucked right into something where I go, wow, oh my God, I really didn't know that. And I'm like thinking about it for like an hour afterwards. I'm like, mind blown, like flashing light bulb moment. I love those. So yeah, angle-foot equestrian, behavioral connection to pain, how correct bodywork can overcome common problems with horses. Now, where are we going from here? Let's have a look before we go at Sean and Tracy's. Yeah, so Sean at that time is doing, Sean Coleman's doing learn how to use psychology in the saddle and become an effective rider. That's going to be a really, really good session. If you've not seen Sean before, if you don't know who Sean is, or you've not seen his work, I definitely think that that's going to be one of his best sessions. Sean has I've known Sean for quite a long time, and he's someone who's really on the never-ending self-growth train, and his understanding of horse psychology and training and how to kind of create a learning relationship is really deep. And I think that is going to be a really key session for him. I think I'm catching him on Sunday on a different session. But definitely if I didn't have so many things I wanted to see at the same time, that would be something that I would be at. And then the same with Tracy. I think Tracy's on in the education arena, in Arena 2. And she's got the title, Explore the Depths of Connection Between Horse and Rider, Bringing Mind, Body and Soul Together from the Moment We Interact on the Ground. Now, again, I mean, you just kind of feel like you can't say no to that title. Tracy's done quite a lot of work the past few years, from what I understand, on like the horse and rider mindset. And more recently, I think, into looking at kind of energy between the horse and rider and like the deeper relationship aspects. And yeah, I think that's going to be a very like holistic session where she really looks at like a lot of different aspects of building a relationship and communication. So yeah, Tracy is again like a really experienced horseman. She's done a lot, and I again would really recommend, if that's pulling you, if that one's resonating with you, take it and go. You're gonna have a great time. I would really recommend that. So yeah, Saturday afternoon is just chock full of amazing presentations. And just to make it even more tricky, we've then got Warwick Schiller, who is doing relationship before horsemanship. Now, from what I understand, I've actually got his book down the side of my bedside table. That is my book for the week, which is really good timing. I'm going to be reading his Principles of Training book that has was sort of relatively recently been published. I have had it on my shelf for quite a while and finally got around to taking it off the shelf and putting it in the currently reading pile. And yeah, so from what I understand, he kind of has 12 principles of training, and then his 13th principle, which is the one that really has been absorbing his life recently, is the relationship before horsemanship principle. And I saw this on the schedule and I was like, gotta be there, gotta go, gotta make it happen. And then I realized it actually clashed with someone who I think is really quite amazing, and I also really wanted to see their session, and I was super, super lucky and super happy to see that I was going to be able to actually see Warwick on Sunday. And he has the same title on Sunday, so I feel like I'm getting my cake and eating it, because you can see Warwick on both days. So if you kind of want to see something else at the same time, on the Saturday or Sunday, then that's totally cool. Just like have a little look on the schedule and see which one you want to prioritize. Now for me on the Saturday, I'm going to be in the talk tent if I can with Rachel Beasley for how can animal communication help you. Now Rachel Beasley is from Equisentient Coaching. I have had sessions with her in the past with both Mia and Lawrence, and I have to say the last sessions that I had were really powerful. And I think animal communication, so Rachel does remote communication, so she calls you on the telephone for your session, and she will open up a conversation, a three-way conversation with yourself and your horse and herself, and she will kind of act as the intermediary between the two of you so that you can kind of have an opportunity to connect and ask questions and discuss things. And I have to admit, like when I first did the session with her, like a couple years ago, I was really on the fence. Like it was giving like medium psychic, or should I, shouldn't I sort of feel like this is going to work out vibes. And I have to say, like I had a really positive experience the first time, and I came back again recently and I had such a fascinating session, and I could really feel a tangible difference in the relationship between myself and my horses after I had the session. And the stuff that we were talking about was really relevant to the things that were happening. And for me, I feel like what I can take from it is how my mindset changed, opened, loosened. I became so much more empathetic. I became so much more understanding as a result of having those conversations. And yeah, I'm just actually a really big fan. And so yeah, I'm going to be in the talk tent, catching up with Rachel, like having the opportunity to kind of listen to her talk about what she does, understand what she does, be interested in what she does. And yeah, no, I'm super excited about that. So yes, that was good timing for me. I definitely am gonna also, in my perfect little world, take that opportunity to potentially do some shopping, because probably people are going to be watching Warwick because he obviously has a massive draw. So I'm thinking that that's going to be a great opportunity for me to just like kind of circle around, see if I can see it. I think we've got something, crazy, like 60 exhibitors this year, which is wild. So yeah, there's a lot. So, you got to have time to go and see it all, do all the shopping, get your Christmas presents. I also think like I'm building this schedule for myself, knowing that even if I had all the time in the world, it would be impossible for me to see all these things, because at some point your brain is just like fried. You've had so much information overload, and that's where the shopping is so great. Like, go do some retail therapy, go spend some money, go learn about some new cool stuff, and just like do something rather than think about something. So yeah, I would probably take that opportunity, go and catch up with Rachel, go and have a wander around, see all the exhibitors, and I want to be right back in the interactive zone at 3:45 for Georgina and Ben Atkinson, who are going to be doing how to prepare your horse for the farrier from a farrier and trainer's perspective. So I think that's going to be a really interesting session. So Georgina is actually a farrier herself, and I think that the process of having a farrier is actually probably a lot more stressful for a lot of horses than we maybe give them credit for. Horses are very good at training themselves to dissociate, and we have also historically been very good at training horses to dissociate because it's very useful for us, for safety, if the initial reaction of a horse to a stressful situation is to freeze. If it's a functional freeze, of course, and that's where, you know, if a horse tips into a more dysfunctional freeze, you're going to end up escalating into fight or flight versus if they're able to kind of work through it. I think there's a lot of horses that can get stuck in a kind of semi-functional freeze, particularly chronically in situations that just come up over and over again for them in their life, and they don't really become more pleasurable, just nothing bad ever really happens, like the farrier. And so I think farrier prep is something like needle prep and like trailer prep that probably a lot of us don't do enough of. And it's not something that I have seen discussed in this way before at Showcase. I think Georgina and Ben are going to have some really nuanced and interesting, like, well experienced opinions about it. So I would be very keen to catch that for sure. So yeah, that is the interactive zone on Saturday. We're kind of reaching the end of the day, which is good. Where are we going from here? The end of the day is interesting on Saturday. There's quite a lot. There's quite a lot to see. We've got Sean Coleman in the interactive arena for Get in the Arena and Feel the Movements. I think that's going to be a very cool session. I think if you're interested in kind of learning and thinking about how to push past that feeling of, oh, I'm not ready, that's going to be a really good session. But I think I'm probably going to be in the international arena for Jenny Blakehill using lateral work to develop soundness. Now, lateral work, I think, is something I associate more with Frederick Pignon and Magali Delgado, who I've done some work with, and Magali was kind of the first person to really take me through. I would say Magali and maybe also Debbie Snedden, kind of the first people to take me through lateral work as an exercise to actually create soundness rather than something that you did after your horse was well trained, which is kind of the way that I thought about it when I was young. So yeah, Jenny Blakehill 415 for lateral work to develop soundness. And then I think probably I would end up staying in the international arena to close off the day with Alison and Davidson and Rachel Scheuer from Pirelli for Simple Things Done Well. I grew up with Pirelli. I spent a lot of time working through the levels when I was young, and Alison, David, and Rachel are all absolute master horsemen, and I think they're gonna have a lot to contribute to horsemanship for everybody. I think there's a lot to be learned from some of the basic skills that a human and horse training program like Pirelli teaches. And I always learn something every time I watch them. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fun, relaxed, interesting, informative session. And yeah, I'm super there for it. So yeah, so that is Saturday. We're doing well. I am just going to take a pause to plug my laptop in because I feel like I've been talking to you guys for like a mega long time. So I'm going to go do that. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get on to Sunday. Oh my goodness. All right. I feel like I'm like learning as I go about all of the crazy pitfalls that you can go through while recording videos and content. It's a never-ending journey of learning, guys. Never-ending journey. So we've gone home, we've rested, we've napped, we've zonked out on our bed thinking about horses and learning and all the crazy things, and we've come back again for the second day, for Sunday, and we are going to kick off with, I'm going to go straight back to Rebecca Strobel because I fully could not resist this title. The Emotional Freedom Technique, Breathwork and Other Modalities to Calm Your Nervous System. I'm sold. I'm fully sold on that title. I want to know about these other modalities. I want to know about the Emotional Freedom Technique. I definitely have already started working on breathwork in my life in various different ways, but I'm aware that I'm at the beginning of that journey as a learner and someone who feels that they have something to bring to the table as a teacher, as a presenter. I'm very keen to find out what Alex Strobel has to say about that. So yeah, so that's where I'll be starting in the talk tent on Sunday. I'm going to go straight from there to catch Ollie Phillips in the international arena for his expert knowledge session with his horses. I think that's going to be a really cool session. I'm really interested. I'm really happy that I managed to fit him in. That is definitely the slot that I would choose to watch Ollie. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really enjoyable session. Sean Coleman is doing like kind of a mystery session in the interactive zone around the same time. Definitely, I would say look out for the title of that to be released to see if that's something that you want to see. But yeah, for me, Ollie Phillips, I found really inspiring last year. I learned a lot from his sessions, and yeah, I'm really excited to see him again. I am then going to be going on, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to Arena 2. I'm going to go to the education arena for Jenny Blakehill for in-hand therapy, teach your horse balance from the ground. Now, there's been quite a lot of balance work, I think, in this country the last few years around like how to evolve techniques for in-hand work. And I know that Jenny has been historically involved for a long time with some of those people. And I think that she's got a lot of experience and she's got a lot to teach. I've known Jenny for quite a while. Let me have a look and see what she is doing these days. Let's do a little researchy. Jenny Blakehill. Yes, that's what I saw her doing last year, because she is a qualified barefoot trimmer. So yeah, she's kind of got like the holistic picture, because I remember having quite an interesting conversation with her about like the kind of mind and body situation and like helping horses to deal with physical issues and sort of promoting balance in horses from the kind of perspective of things like hoof trimming, and then also the perspective of like how to train balance just simply through the like techniques and exercises that you're doing. So yeah, that's definitely a session that I would want to catch. I think that's going to be one to watch. I would also say though that I sort of toyed with the idea of actually going to Becky Thompson at around the same time in the talk tent for I'm the Problem, It's Me, Mastering Energy Shifts When Things Don't Go to Plan. Now, I really also liked this title, but I think because I'm going to go to see Alex Strobel in the morning, that I kind of was feeling that I might be overwhelmed and overloaded by some really deep and like personal learning around sort of calming my energy in the first session. I might not be ready to go back again for Becky Thompson. However, I would say that if I like went to the first session with Alex Strobel and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want more, I definitely would be touching in with that session with Becky Thompson in the talk tent on Sunday. So where are we going from there? Oh, yes. This is another key one for me. This is going to be really, really good. So we are looking at Bert Sheffield at 11:45. So Bert Sheffield is on, I mean, you know, 11:45 roughly. Bert Sheffield is someone who really inspires me. So Bert Sheffield is a Paralympic dressage rider. She has been presenting at Showcase for a few years now. Every year she brings some really amazing stuff. And she has such a detailed, in-depth knowledge of how to use your body to create movement. And so this session in the interactive zone is going to be a lateral work in our body. That is, for me, like, that's a winner. I really want to be there. I want to see what she's got to teach her, and I want to see what she's got to say. I think that's going to be a great session. I'm really excited by that. So Bert Sheffield. I will say, actually, about that at the same time, there's also, same sort of time, is Joe Midgley in the talk tent for facial anatomy, nerves and nosebands, how tack and training aids affect our horses. Now, if you don't particularly feel that lateral work in your body is something that is for you at this moment in time, if you're particularly having issues with like head shaking, for example, difficulty with bridling, difficulty with haltering, anything like that, I watched Joe Midgley's talk on facial anatomy last year and it was fascinating. It was really, really good. I'm sure he's going to bring some different stuff this year and expand. I really enjoyed the talk last year. I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it before. But given the fact that I've always been so inspired by Bert Sheffield and I'm really keen to continue to progress my lateral work on the ground and in the saddle, I definitely couldn't resist Bert Sheffield for that slot, but would highly recommend Joe Midgley if that is the journey that you are on. So where have we been? Where are we going? Ooh, this one's an interesting one. So yes, Flying Changes, which is actually on in the interactive zone as well in Arena 4. They are doing how to avoid overwhelm in horse and rider, a practical approach to mindset. Now, Flying Changes I've seen before with Tracy Duncan doing a kind of shared session. I think I saw them in the International Arena a couple of years ago, and it was a really interesting session. I remember being really struck by the change in the horse throughout the session, and yeah, how obvious and clear it was to the audience how like a change in mindset changed the whole kind of energy of the horse and how the horse was moving and holding itself and all these things. So yeah, I would be very interested to kind of go and get some more from Flying Changes. And yeah, I mean, overwhelm in horse and rider is, I think, a universal problem. I don't think it matters if you see yourself as a happy hacker, as a leisure rider, as someone who likes to keep their horse in the field, as someone who likes to go out and compete show jumping, or, you know, go and do cross country or dressage or whatever it is. Yeah, I think overwhelm is something that we can all agree exists for all of us. So yeah, so that is definitely one for me. Where am I going after that? Back to the education arena, I think. Yes, for Millie Equus for spook busting. Now, this is my challenge to myself to to move through comfort and try new things. So I have never resonated with positive reinforcement and treat training. It's something that I've kind of played with horses throughout my time with them. However, I've noticed very quickly that my feel and timing wasn't there. And so I felt that I was making problems by doing it. Additionally to that, I've always found it to be quite a dominant method of training because of the withholding of the food being the pressure that motivates the horse to complete the task. And there's nothing wrong with using higher pressure training. It creates very fast and very accurate results if you do it well. And ultimately, horses just want to feel better. If you feel better and they feel better at the end, fundamentally, a lot of the time, the end can justify the means with horses. Not in all situations, but I'm not fundamentally opposed to treat training or clicker training. It's just never been something that's resonated with me. And so I've kind of never made the effort to go and find out anything about it. However, I definitely feel like this time people are being kind of put into my lap. And so I really want to take the opportunity to find out a little bit more and try to stretch my boundaries. So the thing that particularly interested me about this session, because there are a couple of positive reinforcement sessions. The other one I think is on separation anxiety. And I have quite a few theories on how you might use clicker training or treat training to play with approach and retreat with separation anxiety. That to me, I think I have a lot of different ways that I could see myself practicing a technique in that kind of vein. Spook busting, I think it's going to be a little bit more complicated because I think it's, spooking always feels like something that happened unexpectedly. And so someone who's using positive reinforcement training to deal with spooking, that to me says that that person potentially has good enough feel and timing that they're able to see what happens before what happens to be able to reinforce the right behaviors at the right times. So I'm really interested to see that because I think that says to me that potentially Millie Equus is going to have some really good feel and timing to share with us all. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see that session. I will say at the same time, they would have been my comfort choice, is Sabre Holistics in the interactive zone. And they are doing Heal Your Horse with Essential Oils. I have always wanted to learn more about essential oils. That is well within my comfort zone of things that I'm curious about already. And I definitely would love to catch that session if I could. However, I was so struck by the kind of curiosity of a gap in my knowledge with positive reinforcement that I did have to choose Millie Equus for that session. So we have seen Millie Equus for spook busting. We've seen some super impressive feel and timing, undoubtedly, with our positive reinforcement. We've learned a lot, and we are sticking around in the education arena for Sean Coleman for the session of his that hooked me in the most. So he's doing 3 or 4 sessions throughout the weekend, and his sessions are always great, but this is the one where I was like, yes, I need to see that. So the session title, How to Empower Your Horse to Become a Great Learner. This is something that really interests me personally. I have been looking at how we use language around horses learning and how we understand the learning process of horses, because I think the kind of the learning focus and having a learning frame of mind in a horse is something that is very fluid, can be very challenging to create, and can be very variable in between different individual horses. So I'm really curious to see Sean's perspective on this. Sean has spent a lot of time with young horses. He's done a lot of young horse training. He's also trained horses for clients for a number of years. And yeah, I think he's going to have some really interesting perspectives on this. I actually can't wait to catch up with Sean. Personally, I think it's going to be really nice just to, yeah, get to just have some cool conversations about stuff. This is a session I'm really, really, really keen to see. And yeah, no, I'm super, super excited about it. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. It's gonna be a good one. I would like to make an honourable mention at this time for finer forage in the talk tent for species appropriate feeding by nutritionist Nia Cook. I think that's going to be a really interesting session. I would have loved to have seen it. I couldn't say no to Sean's session, empowering your horse to become a great learner. But if I had a free slot there, I definitely would recommend going. And I think if you are on the journey of learning about equestrian feeding practices, I think that's going to be the place to be. So yeah, so where are we? Lunch is behind us. Hopefully we've grabbed some food at some point. And we are moving forward, actually in a similar vein to finer forage, which was kind of another reason why I wanted to catch Sean, because later on in the afternoon, we have in the interactive zone, Simple Systems horse feeds, bucket to barrow, taking the audience on a journey through the equine digestive system. I think that's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really in depth. I've spoken to the Simple System team before on previous years. They have exhibited with Horsemanship Showcase before, and they have a really interesting, really well thought out feeding system. They are very knowledgeable about gut health. A lot of what they said aligned to me with what I'd learned in my equestrian science degree and what I'd learned from peer-reviewed research. And for me, that was very kind of validating to see somebody talking about the same concepts that I had learned about before. So yeah, so that's something I definitely want to catch. I think the other person that I considered at that time was Bert Sheffield in the international arena for using music to bring your horse to bring your riding to life. That's a session that I've seen a sort of similar session from her before, not exactly the same, and I know that she's going to bring some different stuff this year, undoubtedly, because she's always learning and growing and she always brings something fresh. And I definitely would have wanted to see that. However, having already seen her earlier in the day for lateral work in our body, and also wanting to get the chance to catch the digestive system, having missed it watching Sean, that was kind of the decision I made in terms of like which sessions were for me. But yeah, using music to bring your riding to life, I think that's going to be a great session. If you go to see that, you're not in the wrong. Yeah, that's going to be a really cool session. So going on from Simple Systems to I think the session when I first read this schedule earlier today, this one session was the one that I was like, wow, that's going to be really cool. That's a thing I really need to see. And that is Chris Roy in the interactive zone for mindfulness of the thoracic sling. You can catch her for the same session on Saturday, slightly later in the day. But I wasn't able to see her due to a schedule clash on the Saturday. So I put her in for Sunday. So hopefully that will work out for me and I'll be able to catch her on Sunday. But yeah, no, I am excited. I'm excited for that. Chris Roy is going to have some really interesting perspectives on the thoracic sling, on how that's going to influence the horse generally, how it might influence the horse, I think, ridden, not ridden, injured, not injured, all those kinds of things. I'm going to be there. That's a session that I'm going to try and see come rain or snow or sun or whatever's going on. If I can be there, I'm going to be there. So yeah, that's definitely a key for me. I'm going to be going straight on from Chris Roy to catch Warwick Schiller, who I tactically missed on Saturday for his relationship before horsemanship session in the international arena. And then I'm going to round off the event, of course, with the Beauty of Horsemanship finale. And yeah, I'm going to be very happy about it. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be an amazing event. That brings my schedule to a close because I didn't talk about it for long enough. I am so excited. I am jealous, actually, having finished this video, for all of you who are getting to go and see everyone that you want to see. I'm sure I'll see some of you there. I'm sure I'll get the opportunity to see some of the people I want to see. I am going to post a copy of the schedule that I would choose for myself so that you guys can see kind of the things that really jumped out at me, being like, wow. Yeah, let me know if any of those things are resonating with you, if I'm going to catch any of you guys at those particular ones. Yeah, no, I'm super excited for the event. I'm super excited to see everybody. I think it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, thank you for joining me on my little indulgence evening, working out where I'm gonna go and what I'm gonna see. Thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of this video. And yeah, I'm so ready to see you guys all in a couple of weeks.